Yeah, let's talk about some DK Metcalf, shall we? Let's talk some DK Metcalf, and quietly, he's been kind of a fantasy stud. I know the volume numbers aren't there, only 19 receptions on the season, but over the last I think 4 weeks for DK Metcalf since week 4, only Drake London, who we might talk about later, has more
Mm.
individual team usage than DK Metcalf, only Drake London. And over the last 4 weeks and just PPR scoring, not half PPR, but full points per game scoring, the only wide receivers outscoring DK Metcalf are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, the aforementioned Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and George Pickens. DK Metcalf's 18.4 points per game over the last 4 weeks. Like, this is happening quietly. It's happening on a team that you still look at it and you don't feel great weekly, but I think we should change our tune a little bit. And it's not because DK's out there getting fed 10, 15 targets per game. I wish he would actually get some more usage than what he's getting,
Mm.
right now for Pittsburgh. Just get him more involved, more involved. But there's nobody else on this team, Matt. Calvin Austin, not a thing. Roman Wilson, not a thing. They try to get Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington, make some big plays, but when they need something from a pass catcher, it's DK Metcalf that they're calling his number, and he's actually looked pretty good with Aaron Rodgers. So one of these receivers that nobody's out there knocking down your trade door to get DK Metcalf, and I'm not telling you to go try to make a move for him, but this has quietly been one of the better, more productive wide receivers in all of fantasy football, outscoring even the likes of Jamar Chase and Emeka Egbuka over the last 4 weeks. So it's time to show a little love for DK Metcalf and what he's doing in Pittsburgh.
So when you're doing Trinity, you make it contextual by the team environment, right?
Correct. 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 So
Yeah,
what he's asked to do for the Pittsburgh
got
Steelers, the
it.
only receiver who was asked to do more in relation to any of the pass catchers is Drake London. Yep.
Well, that makes a lot of sense when we get to the Drake London stat we have. With that, will make a lot of sense as to in terms of who's being asked to do the most on his team right now. But yeah, I mean, you look at the usage for these Steelers pass catchers. Nothing is happening besides DK Metcalf, who like team context wise, almost a 40% air yard share, 23% target share. I mean, shoot, dude, they barely even play Pat Fryermuth, who they gave an extension to. 49.7% route participation on the year, 8 receptions. And I feel like the playing time for him has been trending down. There's nobody involved on this team. Scotty Miller's run 32 routes. You wouldn't know it because he has literally not caught a pass on those 32 routes. And oh my God, I didn't even know that until just now. Roman Wilson has run 37 routes. Like, that's how close those guys are. So yeah, it's the DK Metcalf show. And definitely when you look across, I think if you were kind of maybe trying to paint him as a negative regression candidate, even though his team context usage is good, I think you would point out that he is 48th among, he's 44th among wide receivers in overall targets, only 3 red zone targets on the year, and 51st in total air yards, just because this environment is not like a passing friendly situation. And Ray, I noticed this today when looking at Metcalf. He is averaging 11.7 yards after catch per reception. The next highest wide receiver that's caught 10 plus passes is Khalil Shakir at 8 yards. The only guy who's higher than Shakir is Tucker Kraft because he's like a Wolverine at 9.8. So I think you're going to have to count on him. You're going to have to count on him busting those big plays for DK Metcalf yards after catch. The good news is that we know he can make those plays.
And that's the thing, right? When you look at him in relation to everyone else, right? There's some areas in which he falls short. But they're ordering the pizza, Matt, and he's getting all of it, right? DK is eating
Yeah, right,
everything.
right.
You get the jalapeno that they put on the side. You know what I mean? This person gets a little bit of the marinara sauce for the crust that DK doesn't gobble up. It's one of those things where he is good after the catch. What do we think is the more likely outcome for Pittsburgh, who right now leads the AFC North, favored to win this division? Like, I'm not a long-term fan of Aaron Rodgers, but it does feel
Hmm.
like it would behoove them to continue to work that chemistry, get that connection going. And we're not asking for DK to get like 8 or 9 more targets? Can he get thrown the ball 3 or 4 more times a game? And I think with him getting all of it right now, like you said, they don't use Freiermuth. I mean, hell, Darnell Washington is popping off big plays, and then the running game still isn't truly dominant. I think
Yeah.
there's some, I would feel a little more optimistic, right, in his ability to maybe earn a little bit more, even if some of the big plays pull back. But DK has always been a big play guy. He's 6'4", he's 230 pounds, and he can fly. He's going to be a big play guy. This is just one of those quiet situations where you sit back and you're like, damn, this dude's been pretty good, and I can see some area where things might continue to work in his favor.
Well, I'll tell you what, even if I am maybe a little bit more on the this will regress side of things, just because it's going to be very volatile. It's going to be big play dependent. We talked about guys that don't throw over the intermediate and deep middle of the field, and Rodgers was in that bucket of players. I'm not really going to come out and say that this week when they're about to play Thursday Night Football against Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, so this is not the week to say like, yeah, DK Metcalf is going to face some regression given that matchup upcoming, buddy.
This would be a good one to watch, right? Because we both identify
Yes.
that. I mean, he's getting it all, and I think the
He's
trend
balling.
will see it. I don't think this one will sneak up on us. We'll start to see, okay, and Matt, he
Yeah.
did get targeted more this week. We see it kind of rising up. You don't have to be quick to rush into it, but if you have him, like this is the type. Let's put it like this, Matt, and we'll leave it like that. He's got the type of potential to where if he's only going to get 5 catches and you're telling me 3 of them are down the field, 20 plus yards, he's probably going to convert 1 or 2 of them. Like he's got that type of range of outcome in his sort of skill set.
Totally agree. Yeah, this is one I think we'll see the trend line coming. It won't sneak up on us. I like the way that you put that. All right, I'll get to my fourth data point here, and this is Aaron Rodgers' former team, the Green Bay Packers. Let's do a little check-in on the Packers pass catchers after their bye. Let's look at route participation for these Packers pass catchers coming off the Week 5 bye. Romeo Doubs once again led the way, 88% route participation, also led the team in both air yards and targets. Tucker Kraft, 75% route participation. Matthew Golden, no post-bye rookie bump here. Yes, we did get the big plays. That was electric to see, over 100 yards, or I believe pretty close, if not over 100 yards from scrimmage. 69% route participation, which actually has trended down in the last 3 games, weirdly enough. Malik Heath was at 44%, but that's some context here because Dontavian Wicks at 38% actually had an ankle injury in the second half. Wicks was at 60% in the first half. Then it's guys like Luke Musgrave at 34%, John Fitzpatrick at 16%, and Savion Williams at 16%. So, am I wrong, Ray, to be a little disappointed that we didn't get more Matthew Golden playing time this past week? And I mean, I don't know. Dobbs has been good for this team. Am I a little wrong to be disappointed, especially with the fact that Christian Watson might be coming back soon? You know, I don't know. It's just always something with these Packers wide receivers.
They tried a little bit, right? They tried a little bit, and I think the real reality is this. Dobbs is probably, I'm going to say better, and that doesn't mean that I mean, it is equating to fantasy points, but I'm not saying that's who we want it to be. But he's definitely favored by this team and is probably better for Love and the Green Bay Packers than we kind of want him to be for fantasy football. I'll frame it like
Sure.
that. He's probably better than we actually want him to be, and just good enough to keep the mythical ceiling of what we want from Matthew Golden just at bay. It's going to be volatile. I absolutely believe he's going to have his moment. Like he's going to get one of those games. I can't tell you when it's going to
Yeah,
happen,
sure.
Matt. I too am a little disappointed. It was good to see him convert some of the downfield stuff finally because they have missed so much. He and Jordan Love just haven't connected. I think the real thing is Dobbs is probably just a little bit better than we want him to be, than we want to admit for fantasy football and for Green Bay. And then you add another receiver in the mix, even if we don't believe that he's going to be a true contributor. I call him gnats, man. You just don't want a lot of gnats around pulling 2 or 3 targets away, taking that one deep shot away from what could have been Matthew Golden. Yeah, you wanted to see a little more from Golden coming out of the bye, and it's just been a little disappointing with him all year. I think we see flashes, but we want those to convert at some point. And we're into week 7 now, man. Like we're in week 7.
We're in week 7. And again, to go back to that money area, the middle of the field, 10 plus air yards over the middle. Jordan Love has 285 passing yards in that area. 157 of those have gone to Romeo Doubs, which it's either Doubs or Kraft. Kraft is 168, leads the team. Matthew Golden, 34 yards in that area. It's just hard. It's hard to be a high volume wide receiver in today's NFL if you're not winning in this area of the field. And look, Doubs, to his credit, you laid it out perfectly there, that I feel like people have been for the last, and at one point I was one of these people, like 3 years ago, just enough already with Doubs, enough already with Romeo Doubs. Let's get more Jaden Reed. Let's get more Dontavian Wicks. The Christian Watson bros were always kind of like, hey, why is Doubs out there not getting, like, why is Watson not getting those opportunities? I've always said this about Doubs. If he was 10%, I said, at least back then, I was like, if he was 10% worse, yeah, you would just take him off the field and you wouldn't think twice about it. Here's the thing, though. Since then, Doubs has only gotten like 10% better every single year. He has gotten better and better every single year, to the point that, yeah, as a big-bodied guy that can win at the break points of his routes, that's why he's getting these targets that really, really matter for fantasy. I don't see his role changing. It's kind of everybody else that goes around in his orbit. And for Golden, I liked him as a 9th-round pick in fantasy this year because it's a 9th-round pick. You're taking an upside on a rookie. That's totally fine. But as a prospect, Ray, I always thought he probably profiled more as a wide receiver too, and somebody who might be more valuable in real life to the Green Bay Packers than to fantasy football players, if that makes sense.
Well, I think, Matt, I think that analysis and your thought process of him as the prospect seemed to be the sentiment for majority of the draft season. It wasn't till that final, remember we hit that shift. It was, I don't even want to say it was the final month before the season, but the rumors started to speculate. Oh, he's going to be the one in this offense. There's a chance that
he would go over McMillan, which is crazy.
Yeah. He started to happen for whatever reason. But you hit the nail on the head. They don't use him over the middle of the field. They probably don't trust him to do that right now. They trust Romeo Doubs. I think but the community, the people of drafters who started to make those decisions, were a little out over their skis on his fantasy impact, even though I do think he's good for Green Bay, and I think he's a pretty talented wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, look, we're not saying he's bad or that this isn't good. Like, It's 6 weeks into the guy's career. Forget about it. We're just saying, like, this is where it is right now from a fantasy standpoint. And I think that distinction that you just made there, like, people should put a pin in that when we get to draft talk next year. There's a big difference between this guy's good, like a good, useful player in the NFL, and this guy's a fantasy contributor. Like the skill set for McMillan, the skill set for Igbuka, the theoretical skill set that Travis Hunter could have, that's higher, which is why all those guys were in a different tier than Matthew Golden for me. But like, I still liked him as an NFL player because I can tell you this for sure. He keeps making plays like he did against the Bengals in week 6. Defenses are going to have to respect him. They're going to have to stretch. That's going to help out their run game, which is really what their identity is built on. So we're not saying give up on Matthew Golden, the NFL player. We're certainly not even saying give up on him in fantasy. But right now, until something changes, this is where it is. And this bye week is usually, it's week 5 is a little early for the post-bye rookie bump. It's not like a magic little sprinkle pixie dust, but this is just, people look at that as this is where it's going to change. Didn't change coming out of week 5. He's still going to be like kind of an up and down producer, at least in my opinion. All right, let's get to your 5th data point and stick on the rookie pass catcher theme.
Yeah, let's give a little enthusiasm, a little hopium, a little hype, and I'm curious to your thoughts about this one. But Oronde Gadsden, we're talking rookie tight end for the LA Chargers. This was a player, Adam Levitan had a tweet that talked about Gadsden. He went to Syracuse. He was a wide receiver. He moved to tight end. But this tight end spot for Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers in Justin Herbert's offense, we saw all 3 of them active last Sunday. All 3 of them played. Here are the routes on 39 of Justin Herbert's dropbacks. Gadsden had 30 of the routes. Will Dissly, big country, big Montana out there, had 8 of them. Tyler Conklin, 0. We saw Gadsden's best fantasy performance this season in this matchup by Oronde Gadsden, targeted heavily by Justin Herbert, even after a costly mistake for a rookie. I like to see that, right? When the rookie makes a mistake, does the team ice him or do they go right back to him? If he's good, Matt, if he can continue to earn opportunity in this offense where we didn't see Quentin Johnston play, and there was a stat I was reading off about George Pickens and the second lowest team target share amongst top 13 scorers. Quentin Johnston's also in that mix. He's been awesome. Sub 19% target share for QJ. Just very, very low overall just usage for Quentin Johnston on the season. But if Gadsden can carve out consistent usage out of this tight end spot with Ladd McConkey, with Quentin Johnston, and with Keenan Allen, there are no double teams. There's no double coverage. There's no bracketing.
Yeah.
Oronde Gadsden. I mean, it's one-on-one. It's ISO, and if he can learn where to sit inside of zones, right now, this is a rookie tight end. If I could sneak and get him now, right? And I know he just had a big game, so there's some hype, but he's still a rookie tight end, and then you click his overall scoring. It's not high on the season. But this is one where I'd be willing to buy into this a little bit. I would be willing to buy that he's their most talented tight end. He's their most talented just pass catcher at that position on that team. And with those three wide receivers around him in an offense that is still a positive passing over expectation offense, I think this is one, just a little rookie hopium here on the data dump. I'm liking Oronde Gadsden. I'd be trying to get him not just in Dynasty, but I think in redraft, he can end up being one of those starters if this route participation continues to trend in this type of direction in a game, Matt, in which they needed to throw the ball. They needed to throw the ball to beat Miami, right? And he was involved and utilized in that game on the road. This is one I might be buying in on.
I like it. I like it a lot. Look, if you're just looking at this tight end depth chart, it ain't going to be Will Dissly. It ain't going to be Tyler Conklin. Like these guys, they have their Dissly has his role, but I mean, they were looking for more juice at the tight end spot. They just didn't really find it because they prioritized the wide receivers this offseason. But, Gadsden was a guy they were talking up in minicamp. They were kind of talking up in training camp, like that offseason buzz was building. He's getting the opportunity, and he's the type of athlete we should want to bet on in tight end at the tight end position of fantasy football. 6'4", 5'8", 243 pounds, 85th percentile wingspan according to Mock Draftable. Actually, his best player comparison according to Mock Draftable is Elijah Arroyo out there in Seattle, who is a second-round pick at tight end this year, and people were jacked up about him as like a move-around option. You look at all these Chargers pass catchers this past week, 7.1 air yards per target for Ladd, 6.6 for Trey Harris, 5.4 for Oronde Gadsden. Keenan Allen leads the way at 9.4. Like, they're trying to get that ball out quick, and I think dumping it to this guy in the flat, hey, like when there's pressure, just having him as that outlet receiver, I think that can work here in this offense.
Yeah, so just check for him, right? He might be hanging out there on way. And tight end's it's been brutal. We got Jake Tonjes as a top 12 tight end right now in fantasy football. It's been rough. So just some forward thinking, looking ahead. I think this is one where you're betting on a really athletic tight end in an offense that might be down on Marion Hampton and led by Kamani Vidal. Yeah, I think there's going to be some opportunity in the passing game.
All right, our fifth and final data point, my fifth and final data point here for the week 7 data dump. Drake London, the bold prediction, the triple crown, the dark horse to lead the NFL in receiving yards. Is it back on the menu, Ray Garvin? Because Drake London went berserk on Monday night. This from Next Gen Stats. Incredible looking route chart from them as well. Drake London was targeted on nearly half of his routes against the Bills, hauling in 10 of 16 targets for 158 yards and a touchdown. He was 74.3% of the team's air yards, 40.1 this season, which is 6th highest, again, according to Next Gen Stats. Look at that route chart. Look at all the condensed usage close to the hashes there. That's another thing that I want to highlight. Not only was he was the only wide receiver to catch a pass for the Falcons on Monday Night Football, which is an absurd stat. I'm sure the Trinity is erupting with Drake London after that. I don't even want to know what the score is. Whatever the highest is, it's got to be the highest. Just a couple other pieces of context for Drake London, too. 26 targets for 18 catches, 268 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the 2 games on either side of the bye. I know people are going to talk about the slot usage. He's actually been in the slot about the same. 34.7% slot rate the last 2 games, 33.7% in the games before old buddy Zach Robinson came down and called the games from the sideline instead of the booth. He has been targeted a lot when he's been in the slot. When he's been in the slot the last 2 games, 52% targets per route run, 8 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But when he's been out wide, just a lowly 36% targets per route run for a measly 10 catches, 143 yards. He's a mismatch regardless of where he lines up. I really think we've seen a lot of the just clear concentration here, both from a target perspective, a scheme perspective. My question to you, Ray, how much of this is just because Darnell Mooney's not playing? Like, is this something to even worry about? Like, when Mooney gets back, will we see Drake London take a step back? Is kind of the whole George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb conversation.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 levels below that. I think George Pickens' CeeDee Lamb situation is much more. I don't even want to say problematic for CD, but I think there's a much stronger chance that Pickens' usage continues in that positive trend alongside CD than Darnell Mooney getting enough to catch up with Drake London. I'm just looking at the usage from last week. There's 2 players on the chart. Drake London at the far right, he did lead the league in Trinity score, and then Kyle Pitts at the far left. Like, this is what happens when you get that situation change, right? A competent quarterback and an OC that says that's our best offensive weapon. Get the ball on the out. When we're throwing the ball, there's nobody better on this team to get the ball to than number 5, and we're going to make sure he gets it every damn time. Like, I love it. And he's got the profile. He's got the size. He has the inside-out skill set to earn that, right? Not everybody can get 16 targets just primarily aligned as an X receiver all game. Not many people are getting 16 targets primarily on the inside as a slot-only receiver. You have to be the elite of the elite to earn that type of volume on a week-in and week-out basis the way that Drake London can command. Yes, I do think Triple Crown is on the table. This is the expectation for Drake London, and he's delivering. This is what Atlanta needs to continue to do. This is, I've loved him. I'm a USC Trojans homer through and through. This was the wide receiver 1 in 2022 coming out. He was drafted as the top wide receiver. And finally, with Michael Penix, you're seeing a guy that can dominate all over the field. Like, this is just, if we had air horns, I'd be pressing the button right now. I think this continues with or without Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, well, you disturb the rest of the snowbirds down there in Florida with you at whatever retirement community you're hanging out down there. I don't mean to do the air horns, but hey, I'm jacked up about Drake London, man. I love it. I think it's less. Yeah, Darnell Mooney not being available, of course. When anybody's number 2 receiver is not available, the wide receiver 1 is going to get more targets, especially on a run heavy team where there's not any depth at the position. You're not going to often get no other wide receiver gets the targets, but Mooney has not been healthy. It's kind of the vibe's been a little weird on that one. They're like calling him out in the media a little bit, the coaching staff. So yeah, again, of course, when Mooney's not available, London's going to get a boost, but there's no question that Drake London's a great player. He's going to be excellent, I think, rest of the season. Michael Penix, I think, is starting to look better in terms of the areas where he needs to get the football to Drake London. So I'm into it. Not into this comparison that Scott Barrett's throwing out between the Rock and an actual Rock. Not into that. Sorry, Scott. Love you, buddy. Not into this comparison. I love the way they've weaponized Drake London the last couple games. I think we will only continue to see more of it. So, yeah, the touchdowns might not be there to get the Triple Crown, but I think he's going to be heavily, heavily targeted the rest of the way. So,
real quick,
Drake London
Harmon,
rules.
can I just ask you? Can I ask you this because I saw it in the chat? Rest of the season, if you had to pick one, London or Pickens?
Oh, London. Yeah, I think London.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.